Today we're talking about overgiving and how it backfires in your relationship. If you ever poured your whole heart into someone, you're waiting by the phone, you're rearranging your schedule, you're doing all the emotional work and taking on the responsibility for the relationship, only to feel emptier the harder you tried, then this video is for you. Here's the truth. The more you give, the less often you get. Not because love is cruel, but because overgiving quietly pushes away love. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the 3 hidden ways overgiving backfires and how to finally recognize the difference between crumbs and real love, or as the whole cake, like I say. I'm Sabrina Phoenix. I'm a trained therapist who once worked my ass off in my long-term relationship that gave me nothing but crumbs. I eventually walked away from the man I loved after almost 10 years of trying, believing that if I gave enough and worked hard enough, that he would meet me halfway. I walked away because I finally realized I deserved more. Let me paint the picture for you. I thought if I gave more, if I carried the relationship, I did the labor, I loved harder, he would finally step up. So I was doing everything. The emotional labor, the chores, the taking care of kids, barely asking for anything myself. And I realized that the more I gave, the less he actually did. My effort made him comfortable to take me for granted. It didn't make us connected. And here's why. Overgiving teaches men to undergive. When you fill in every gap, there's no space for him to rise. It blurs your value. When everything is available on demand, like always being available for late night calls or bending plans at the last minute, it stops feeling special. It creates resentment. You're exhausted, and then he ends up detached. And the love you're craving drifts further and further away. And typically what I see women do is they just try harder. They double down, and this doesn't work because that resentment just builds and builds. Here's the loop I want you to hold on to. The harder you work for crumbs, the harder it becomes to get actual cake. It's a vicious cycle. Now imagine a year from now still doing all the work, starving on crumbs. Go watch my first video in the series, Why You Keep Settling for Breadcrumbs in Your Relationship. That's what happens if you miss the first half of this story. The shift starts there. The blind spot I see of most strong women. If you're successful and you're crushing it in your career, then why do you miss the mark in love? It's because high-achieving women are conditioned to earn love the way they earn everything else, through hard work, okay? We think effort equals value. And that's not the case. In relationships, over effort erases value. Here's the truth. Overgiving is like overdrafting your emotional bank account. You keep making deposits into someone else's balance while your account is empty. And the truth, a healthy relationship feels like a joint savings. Both people are investing and both people are benefiting. I used to ask myself constantly, was I asking for too much? Was I not lovable? Was I not enough? Was anything wrong with me? That self-doubt kept me giving more and more until I realized I wasn't the problem. My pattern was. I remember calling and texting and wondering why it was taking so long just to get back a response. And kept thinking, okay, am I just needing too much here? All I wanted was some consistency. I wanted to feel seen, heard, and valued. And that's not what you're going to feel if someone isn't consistently showing up for you. And once you see this, you can never unsee it. But how do you shift from crumbs to actual cake? That's what I'm about to break down. It's about choosing nourishment and rejecting crumbs. The shift came the day I walked away, not because I stopped loving him, but because I started loving me more. I started to see that crumbs would never be enough, that I wasn't okay with inconsistency and me doing all the work and him only giving crumbs. I knew that wasn't enough for me or my children. I didn't want my kids to think that this was how love was supposed to work, because it's not. If I stayed and tolerated crumbs, that's all I would get. And that wasn't okay. So this is what happens when you stop overgiving. You create space for reciprocity. You raise your standards without apology. And you stop mistaking crumbs for connection. That's when love can finally flow towards you instead of always leaking out of you. If you're ready to stop giving until you're empty and start receiving the mutual love, make sure you watch last week's video so you can start getting the whole cake and stop living off crumbs, because you deserve a relationship where you feel seen, heard, loved, and adored. And that's not going to happen with crumbs. What happens is we get into this dynamic with someone and it feels familiar. And because it's familiar, we don't realize that it's not enough, that it's settling. You are settling for what is your normal. But if your normal isn't good for you, it's going to feel bad. But it may take you a while to realize, okay, this doesn't feel good. It took me a while. So don't beat yourself up. So first it was the mental shift that, okay, this isn't enough. I started waking up to how receiving crumbs on the daily was making me feel, and it felt bad. I started to realize that, you know what, crumbs are not going to satisfy me. I'm not going to give my all to someone who refuses to put the work in like I am. Then I had to consistently choose myself. I was also going to back off and stop overgiving and functioning and overinvesting. Then there was a period of time that I waited to see what he was going to do. During this time, I was taking care of myself and putting myself first. Then his reaction in that situation was able to show me, okay, is he able to meet me halfway? Is he able to put in what I'm putting in? Can our relationship be mutually satisfying? Not one where he is overflowing and I'm exhausted. I wasn't going to do that anymore. And then after that period of time, I walked away because I knew my value. Even though it was a very, very painful situation, choosing myself was very empowering and necessary to getting the love you want. Some men can step up, some men can't. And the only way you'll ever know if he can step up and give you the whole cake, okay, is if you back off. If you stop overgiving and overfunctioning. That's how you know. And I'm creating something really exciting that's coming up in the future. So be on the lookout for something that's going to help you solve this problem once and for all. Because you don't deserve crumbs. You deserve the whole cake.